Hey everyone, welcome back to Week Ahead Astrology Breakdown. I'm Matthew Oliver with Stillwater Alchemy, and I want to start off this breakdown by thanking all of you for all of the beautiful comments that you left on last week's breakdown. It was really great to see how these breakdowns have helped you, have served you, have helped you increase your awareness and understanding of astrology, which is my true intention for doing any content that I create. Knowledge is power. By increasing your knowledge, you have autonomy of how these astrological transits work, but then also it gives you another spiritual tool to increase your intuition, which is the most powerful tool, in my opinion, when you're navigating things that are aligned for you and when they are not aligned for you. And having your own personal natal chart, it's like your own personal navigation or a compass that can really help you see when you need to rest, when you need to expand, and how all these things are landing as you progress through your journey. So here's to 100, 1,000, who knows how many more. We'll see how long we can keep this chain going in true fixed sign fashion. The fixed signs, I know you know how it is. And I purposely waited until midnight on Sunday because I want to give everyone ample time to submit their comments for the draw for a free one question service with me. So the winner is Katharina Onate 5568. So Katharina, please send me an email at stillwateralchemy@gmail.com and we will set that up. And speaking of the one question service, thank you for all the interest. I see you, I hear you. I just finished my first round and submitted those answers back to everyone who invested. And the service is now open again. So you can click the link in the description of this video to take you directly to my website to learn more, to find out more about the service if you're interested. And I'm also going to be releasing an email newsletter at the same time I release this video. So you'll get two kind of notifications, one from this video, one from the email. And I'll always ensure that when new spots are opened for the one question service, that I release some kind of notification, most likely through the email chain first, so that those individuals get first priority, or at least the notification. And then I'll release it on promotions with Instagram or here or Twitter or all of the above. Okay. Boom. So let us move into the week ahead, shall we? Everyone, Mercury retrograde. We are not starting on September 4th, but we are starting on the 28th. One moment, please. Oh, actually, this is a good timing as I edit this. I wanted to share some funny stories that happened to me this week. So let's rewind. We summon Mercury and Mercury retrograde things happen. This past week, remember that we had Mars in Virgo opposing Neptune retrograde. So I was making my daily coffee and I have like little tinctures that I add to my coffee. So it's more like a potion each morning. And with Nespresso pods, there's different sizes. There's espresso, there's like 150 mLs, there's 250 ml coffees. So I was making my coffee and I tasted and it honestly tasted like something went wrong. I thought maybe my machine was broken. I'm like, great, I'm gonna have to call an espresso or figure out how to troubleshoot this. So I dumped the coffee out in the drink because I just thought it tasted weird. And I didn't even think it made enough coffee. And then I was like, wait, maybe I'm just using a different tincture than I normally do. And maybe that affected the consistency. And so I made the coffee again using my normal tincture that I like to use. And then it tasted fine. It was the exact same size. And I've said this before with Neptune, in terms of like, it can really dissolve boundaries, or it can add confusion, or it can lead to intense romance or this intense creativity or inspiration. So I found it funny for me how coffee, being a very Martian energy, right? It's a stimulant, it's hot, it gets you going. Opposing Neptune, where I was just very confused on something that I do regular, something I do every single day, but I had been away in Austin for a few days, so I hadn't been making that coffee every day. And it was just an interesting experience that if any of you have experienced or did experience last week a Mars Neptune type story where you were doing something, whether quickly or you were passionate about it, but maybe you lost drive or like something was confusing, feel free to share in the comments. A positive way how the Mars Neptune opposition manifested in my life is music, of course, can be a very strong driving force. It can really allow us to feel things. And so when I listen to music, depending on the day, depending on the mood, I usually crank it up really high, especially if I want to feel a certain vibe or frequency. And so there was one day last week, I think it was either Wednesday or Thursday, I was just a little bit low energy. And so when I put certain music on, it really amplified how I was feeling. It completely actually shifted my energy in a way that I've never felt before. And I was like, oh, this is a positive manifestation of how Mars, my energy was maybe lacking. My drive wasn't there. So let's balance it out with the Neptune of this intense feeling I want to feel, especially Neptune in Pisces right now. Really, if you can tap into the emotional response, you can draw on that, right? So I think that when you're encountering a Neptune transit, you want to ensure that you're looking at the other planet involved. We also had that Moon Neptune square when Moon was in Sagittarius last week as well. But it really helps you understand the feeling of a strong Neptune transit because it's really ethereal, it's otherworldly, it's something that we don't get to experience every day. Even going back to the coffee example, like that genuine confusion, it was cool to feel because I was really like, I don't understand why this coffee doesn't taste like it normally is and why it doesn't feel like it's the exact amount. Like in the moment, maybe when you're in a Neptune fog, it can be strange, but when you get out of it, ideally, you can reverse engineer your process so you can write down a step by step so that confusion doesn't happen again, so that you aren't getting to a position where you're doing something and you're not getting the same result that you want, or you're not having a boundary that is going to help you find your way out of the fog, right? So just some musings from my life last week. So now take two, let's go with the week ahead, shall we? So we're starting on Monday, August 28th at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So a big energy here is, remember how we talked about last week that Mars entered Libra on Sunday. So looking at your Libra house, this is going to be where energy is going to be maybe passionate, exciting, accelerated, where you might have to approach things with conflict resolution, or where you might just be pissed off or angry. These are things to note, especially given that Mars has weaker essential dignity in the sign of Libra. It's said to be in its detriment. This isn't a bad thing. It can just mean that be cognizant of how you're handling conflict, not to sit on things if you're really feeling like you want to approach something or to express how you're feeling, especially that we have this Mercury and Venus retrograde still going on. The good news is that Venus is stationing direct on Sunday of this week, so we'll be moving out of that, feeling more grounded, feeling more stable in how we're moving in those Venusian themes. And with Mercury retrograde, I think this is truly the perfect opportunity for those of you who need to work on how you express yourself in regards to conflict resolution, how you express yourself in your relationships, because this is a Mars in a Venus ruled sign and Venus is currently retrograde. So how you are approaching your drive, your passion, your communication in your relationships, not just romantic relationships, friendships, colleagues, loved ones. This is a beautiful time for you to really sit down and be honest with yourself and to use your words with purpose. The Mercury retrograde always working in our favor, so that when you are handling, when you are angry or frustrated, you don't get the same results, or you don't believe that approaching a conflict will lead to disaster or turbulence, that you're like, great, moving forward, if I'm not feeling just or balanced or that things are fair, I'm going to approach them in the moment. And this is how I'm going to use this Mars in Libra transit, so that I'm putting my energy to things that are fair. I'm putting my energy into balanced relationships. I'm putting my energy into harmonious collaborations that benefit everyone. Perhaps that is going to be your intention with this Mars in Libra transit, and anything else that isn't aligned, you handle it in the moment to gain clarity and peace. And then we keep stepping on the journey. Okay. Overall, Monday is a phenomenal day for productivity. We have the Moon in Aquarius making that exact trine to Mars in Libra. So emails, getting things wrapped up. If you need to connect with anyone, if you want to plan a date, or if you want to plan a meeting with a superior, or like planning anything social, especially, but even in business, use Monday to your advantage. If you want to be seen, if you're wanting to put yourself out there, this is also a good time to do that as well. And even given that Libra is a cardinal sign, Aquarius is a fixed sign, you might start something and then immediately feel like you're in your groove. Or once you start a project, or let's say you've been maybe procrastinating on things, or in Mercury retrograde, you're going back to something that you needed to get done, whether that's in a personal or professional matter, that once you initiate the momentum, you feel like everything is just flowing really nicely. So if you need to get anything started or continue something that you've started maybe last week or last month, Monday is a great time for that to occur. And this is just another follow-up from last week with the Mars Saturn opposition, that it's going to be a good time for you in terms of where you're wanting to be seen, or potentially superiors or people of high caliber, higher echelon with this Mars Saturn opposition, and even what you need to do to place boundaries and structures for yourself to be seen. So maybe you're doing things on Monday that are going to allow you to be around the right people, to feel more comfortable in your own skin, or doing things that either make you happy or to be seen, which I know can feel like a tall order all in one day, but I want to give us this because every day this week has beautiful energy that's going to manifest. And of course, the moon is growing, which means that it's gaining energy, it's gaining light to get to that full moon in Pisces, which is going to be happening on Wednesday. Okay. So moving to Tuesday, this is the moon Venus opposition that we're going to be feeling. So it's almost like, especially with the moon in Aquarius, it can have quite an independent nature, but then Venus in Leo can be kind of like that perpetual kitty that just wants cuddles and to have that constant love and affection. So it's balancing potentially one manifestation of this, where you need more independence versus where you need / want more love, affection, and validation. So that could be in work, that can be in relationships, that can be in your home and family, this can be in your community. It'll really just depend. And so one way to discern this, where you're balancing independence versus that love and intimacy, is in the Aquarius and Leo ruled parts of your chart. The good news is as well, this is the last hard or challenging aspect that we're going to have while Venus is in retrograde. But this is also a time too where certain themes of the Venus retrograde are likely to come up as well, especially in terms of nurturing, care, the feminine energy principles in terms of receiving. So this might also be one of those things where mentally you feel like you're doing everything right, like you're working very hard, you're crossing the T's, dotting the I's, and you're like, when is it my time to shine? Or when am I getting the validation or the gig or the coins? When is that going to finally come? I am hopeful on this day as well, because the moon is making a square to Jupiter. So it's kind of like, if you're not getting what you want, or you're still waiting to hear back, really lean into the expansion or the comfort or the feeling that you're wanting. So if you're not feeling it in the 3D realm, feel it for yourself, feel it internally, go inward of what you're wanting to create, because the feeling is what we're going after here, not the maybe material form of it necessarily, if that makes sense. So whether it is in terms of what you're wanting to feel in terms of the independent energy, where you're wanting to grow in that regard, and then in terms of the love or the energy of connection or with others, discern what both of those feelings are to you and allow the intuitive downloads or allowing the path to be formed, especially as we move into that full moon in Pisces. And the full moon that's coming in on Wednesday, which is going to be going exact at 6:35 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, this is going to be, I think, quite clear or loud, as I like to say, because the moon is hitting that conjunction to Saturn retrograde right before we have the full moon. So it's likely to show you where you need more discipline, boundaries, or structure to achieve your dreams. Neptune, hello. We have Neptune co-present this full moon. And this is something I really want you to sit with and be honest, because what you're facing on Tuesday emotionally, there's likely to be a very clear either investment or strategy or routine that'll present itself on the full moon. It's always the case, right? It's like, okay, you're feeling like this. You want an answer? Hello, full moon, the light at its brightest. Here's a spotlight, exactly what needs to occur. And remember, with full moons, especially with this full moon in Pisces, it's going to be hitting Neptune as well. Be very, very cognizant of your dreams while you're sleeping. Be very careful of different substances that you're taking in, people that you're connecting with. Personally, on Wednesday night, I would just be in solitude to take full advantage of that Saturn influence. I would not go out drinking. I would not go out partying. I would not be scrolling on social media. I would be going inward to see what needs to shift or where we need to be more mature, structured, disciplined to achieve our dreams. It's a very easy full moon for that. And I say easy in the sense of it's a very clear task how to use that full moon to your benefit. And maybe if you have plans to like celebrate a birthday or to go out, I understand that, but then I would still ground in that evening so you can use the energy of that full moon and then take advantage of what dreams are coming through as you're sleeping. Okay. Good. Is there anything else I want to speak on? The mastery component, because Saturn often gets a bad rap for many different reasons, often because it can show us where things are challenging or where things may take a bit more time, but there is the mastery component. So for some of you, this might be, especially like we talked about with the Sun-Saturn opposition, with the mastery energy of Saturn, it might be your time to showcase your mastery, or for you to be around people who are the best at what they do, or to surround yourself with content of that energy so that it's easier for you to tap into the frequency of your dreams. Okay. Beautiful. Now let's move on to Thursday. Thursday is great. Thursday is the expansion. Thursday is the aha moment. Thursday, as well, as if you're getting a very clear download, aha moment, a clear path, take it. The reason why I'm saying that is because we have really strong mutual reception between the moon and Jupiter here. And this is one of those things, especially given that the moon is opposing Mercury retrograde, is that it might not make sense on paper. You might be stressed, like maybe I don't have the money to invest in that, or how is the money going to come by following my dreams, or this is going to be really hard for me to explain or to make sense to my parents, my lover, my friends, whoever that may be. So although it may seem counterintuitive, quote unquote, you trusting your intuition and your feelings is going to prove more beneficial than what's on paper, what makes sense. And this can also be to this opposition. Maybe there's a fear or a boundary or a delay that's causing you to feel like you can't go after your dreams, or that you can't get the big promotion, the big job, the big relationship, whatever that is. But it is this feeling of knowing that anything is possible, of being around generosity, of you showing yourself that you're worth it and putting in the actions that are in alignment with that. This is just such a beautiful aspect. Like, in my professional opinion, moon Jupiter aspects, especially harmonious aspects, it is this, it's like you're winning the lottery, if I'm being honest. Like, there's always going to be something sweet, there's always going to be something benevolent, there's always going to be something good that happens. It's kind of like your favorite relative and a multi-millionaire like had a love child, and you're like, oh, I'm basking in this. And of course it's going to manifest differently, but one, look to the houses in which Pisces and Taurus rules to see where that benevolence or that positive momentum is coming from. But then also too, like I said, this is one of those things where you have to pay attention to your intuition and to be clear. That's why I'm very purposeful or like pointed and saying that if you can take Wednesday night for yourself, then the answer is likely to become very clear. Even if you get an answer in your dream, that would be even more synchronistic, or like a very good push in the right direction. But don't be afraid to invest. Don't be afraid to believe in yourself, to have the notion, the idea, the forward momentum, the knowledge that it's working out in your favor, especially if that means being around the right people and maybe distancing yourself from certain energies, certain people, certain jobs. You can go after exactly what it is, what you want. I wrote just down the word expand on Thursday. And that could be a nice energy that you're feeling post full moon, is I'm expanding in all ways. My wealth is expanding in all ways. The love I experience is expanding in all ways. So that we're affirming that expansion to see what else is coming through intuitively. Take that if it resonates. All right. Now, Friday, the moon is in Aries, which of course is also this same energy of getting things moving, getting things going, initiating things. We do have the moon in Aries opposing Mars in Libra. However, there's a bit of mutual reception here, given that Mars rules over Aries. So a couple things, given that Venus is going to be finishing up her retrograde after this weekend, and we also have the moon making that trine to Venus retrograde. And we were talking about earlier in the week with Mars now being in Libra of understanding how we're putting energy into our relationships, or how we're putting an energy and drive into what makes us feel balanced, whole, and fair. I do think that potentially Friday and Saturday, for that matter, there might be tests or things that are going to be presented to you in terms of what you value, what you cherish, what you want to put energy into moving forward. It can be one of those things where you've made the decision to move forward, to invest, to expand, but then there might be things that are challenging or hard, or that you're now coming up against to prove that you're ready to hold that next energy, that next frequency. I am loving the trine to Venus retrograde, because it might also be as if the universe is showing you, it's like, look, all your hard work, these things are coming. Don't lose faith. Don't get upset if you're not getting it right now. Like, this energy is coming. So it might feel like a setback or a delay, but you know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, or you know that, okay, in order for my growth and for my healing, I need to approach this conversation, or I need to do this so I can calm myself and not be so upset about what's right in front of me, to move forward to get exactly what it is I want. So sit with that, because this energy also crosses over into Saturday, because Saturday, the moon is making this applied square to Pluto, and it's also Venus's last day in retrograde. So I want you to think about this as well in terms of breaking free. Like the song Break Free from Ariana Grande was coming through, because that can often be a huge energy with Pluto. It's like we're moving past the fear, the anxiety, the stress of whatever has been maybe holding us back. And that moon in Aries wants to go. It's like literally the ram breaking through a brick wall, or breaking through generational curses, or breaking through your biggest fear, that you're not going to allow this anger and frustration from something that's been holding you back, a relationship, a power dynamic. You're moving past that to now cultivate the relationships, the love, the pleasure, the desire, the wealth that you've always wanted. And this can also be a major theme that you've been working on through this entire Venus retrograde cycle. And also, just to plug the Venus retrograde workshop that I created, it's phenomenal. It's also a good retrospective tool, or even just learning more about Venus and Venus's retrograde and how to work with that cycle. In my humble opinion, the meditation alone is worth the investment. So that's 50% off, already applied on my website. I'll put the link for that in the description of this video if you want to sit with that meditation over the weekend. For those of you who've already purchased the Venus retrograde workshop, I think that would be very wise for you to see exactly how all your hard work has manifested, so that you can get excited for the fruit and the harvest and the bounty that you'll get to nibble and enjoy very, very soon. Okay. Now, Sunday, I mean, that moon in Aries just zipped by, no surprise, but Sunday, there's a few great things I want to point out. So Venus is going to be stationing on Sunday. When a planet is stationing, it's like it doesn't have any power per se. It's like you can't access it directly. So don't be impulsive. Don't make any wild choices. Sunday would be the perfect self-care rest day. Do not go on social media unless you have to. Like Sunday, go inward, rest, celebrate victories is what I would do. We have the moon in Taurus, co-present Jupiter, and we also have Mercury. It's not the exact trine yet to Jupiter. The exact trine will be on Monday. So I also think taking time to rest, to meal prep, to make sure your body is functioning in the way that you want it to, making sure your mind is clear, is going to be extremely beneficial, because once we move into the Monday, September 4th, and Mercury retrograde is making that exact trine to Jupiter, there's likely to be lots of things that are going to expand, that are going to be working, correspondence you've been waiting for coming through, ideas making sense. So take Sunday easy. That is your homework for Sunday. Rest, chill, block out all unneeded noise of people that are not aligned. It's like Taurus is like, leave me alone. I just want to be in my meadow of like beautiful flowers and succulents and like honey and berries and all the good, yummy things. So for the astrology question of the week, I wanted to just be mindful of the Mercury retrograde, give you some additional tools on how you can use this, because there's a few Mercury transits that we're working with, especially this week. So understanding how you can use Mercury retrogrades to your advantage is, of course, going to be beneficial. So number one, here at Stillwater Alchemy Corporation, we do not fear retrogrades. We understand that retrogrades are a beautiful time to learn, to integrate, and to receive even greater blessings from said planet that is retrograde. So number one, we are slowing down. There is no need to rush. With Mercury, it rules over commerce, technology, transportation, communication, and also the notion of carriers and deliveries. That can also fall into Mercury's domain, right? So if you find yourself getting anxious or stressed that things are not moving as quickly as you'd like them to, like let's say your computer is not working, let's say you're waiting on an email or a text from someone, this is your time to go inward and ask yourself, why is there stress? Why is there anxiety? Is there a fear that maybe the package got stolen? Is there a fear that if someone's taking a long time to text you, that something is happening? Why are these things there? This is for all Mercury retrogrades. With the notion of slowing down, there's also an opportunity to revisit, to revise, to reevaluate. So with Mercury, it can be going over those fears or your beliefs or your mindsets to say, okay, especially now conjunct, or pardon me, at the same time as this Venus retrograde, you might be rethinking how you communicate in relationships. You might be reevaluating business collaborations or who you want to do business with or who you want to be working for, because these are now combined, right? That's where we get the beauty of astrology, is when multiple transits are happening at the same time, we get to see how they are colored to influence our lives. Also, too, for those of you who are Sex and the City fans, which a lot of you are, especially in those comments from the last video, can we talk about for one hot second, and spoiler alert, if you haven't watched, and just like that, especially the season 2 finale, you've been warned. Can we talk about how that was the most one Venus retrograde, how Aiden came back and our queen, Samantha Jones, but also Mercury retrograde, how Carrie and Aiden were talking about like how their relationship like can't really work, how they have to wait 5 years. Did that make any sense? And even like Seema with her partner, all these kind of like breakdowns in communication around love. It's wild to me, but not actually, how even the transits are affecting TV shows, even though this was filmed last year, how with these transits, when it's being released, how these retrogrades even manifest in a different reality, which also proves my point, how you can't miss out on blessings that are meant for you. How we see that the astrology is so powerful, how it's so powerful, how it even affects different universes and realities in different TV shows and movies and other realities that we get to enjoy. So going back to the Mercury retrograde, how you reevaluate things, you might also be going past and remembering past relationships as it's at the same time as Venus retrograde. So like, okay, I learned so much in these relationships. And this also is in accordance to this week with that Mars in Libra energy, in terms of I reacted like this in past relationships. Moving forward, these are my boundaries. This is how I want to connect with people. This is what I want to call in terms of lovers, friends, colleagues moving forward. So this is a great time for a Mercury retrograde for us to get clear and concise on our thoughts and our words and how we communicate, especially in relationships. Number 2, with a Mercury retrograde, you want to look at the houses in your natal chart that are ruled by Gemini and Virgo, given that Mercury rules over Gemini and Virgo. So if you are a Gemini or Virgo rising especially, that means that your chart ruler is now retrograde. So that might manifest in feeling a bit more tired or a lack of motivation or just wanting to rest and kind of do nothing. So honoring that time, and honoring that time any time Mercury goes retrograde for our beautiful Virgo and Gemini risings. Or it might just be a time of great breakthroughs when you're reevaluating things and being like, great, like this needs to get revised, this needs to change. And so that you're going to have a lot of forward momentum when Mercury station is direct. For the rest of us, with Mercury currently retrograde in the sign of Virgo, that Virgo house in your natal chart is going to be very activated, especially with it being Virgo season right now, which means the sun is also in the sign of Virgo. So all of those themes in that house are likely to be up for review, or there's things you have to go back. And I'll share one quick story. So Virgo rules my 9th whole sign house, and I need to go get my passport renewed. It's not that I've been delaying it. There's certain things I want to wait on. And with me moving, and I was like, okay, am I going to be traveling? How can I do this? And I need to go get it all handled. And I was like, great. In my mind, I'm like, I'll just wait until Mercury retrograde, because that'll be the perfect way to utilize this transit. But I think sometimes people, and I still get clients that I coach regularly that are afraid of doing things or launching things during a Mercury retrograde. But if you're going back to do something that maybe you had initially started, and I like initially had started my passport renewal film when I was in Toronto, and I was like, oh, I have to wait until I'm in Vancouver because of my address change. You're going back to do something that you didn't maybe have time to do, or that you needed to wait for additional information. So going back to do something in your Virgo ruled house, this is the perfect time to do that right now, to clarify, to review, to reevaluate. And of course, looking to the Gemini house, how things are going to be reviewed, or maybe you've been waiting on correspondence or ideas. That part of your chart is also going to be changed. And number 3, this kind of lends into number 2, but with Mercury in the sign of Virgo, Mercury is in its domicile and exaltation in Virgo, which means that it has the highest amount of strength and power in this sign. So to further eliminate any kind of fear or anxiety around this Mercury retrograde, it's almost like the energy that's coming through intuitively, take this if it resonates, it's like a sleeping dragon that is regaining all of its power. So when it's back up and running, it literally can fly faster, it can breathe fire hotter, it can see further. Like, it's all of these things. And this for me is to further emphasize, 1, your mental health, because we're talking about Mercury. Number 2, your gut health. Virgo rules over the intestines and your digestive system. And 3, just how things are structured and organized in your life. If these things are not where you wish them to be, then this Mercury retrograde is a phenomenal time, is the perfect time, is a huge win, blessing, bounty for you to revisit that. I know for me, like, I've been taking a lot of time to rest because I want to honor these retrogrades. And if there are moments where I'm not feeling my best mentally, then I will meditate. I will go for a walk. I will take a nap. I'm not going to push anything, because I also don't want that to be my mindset, that I have to push through feelings of fatigue to get something done. I understand that there are certain deadlines or certain points that we're doing. However, in my opinion, if you are organized, if you're structured, if you believe that everything's going to work out for you, then it can mitigate some of the stress that we put on ourselves around deadlines or performance on the things that we do, especially on a professional level. So that's how I've personally been working with this Mercury retrograde. To be honest, it's been a vibe, because I'm not putting any additional pressure on myself to do things for anyone but me. I'm like, how am I feeling? If I'm not feeling as good as I want to in this moment, then I'm going to address it right now, so that doesn't continue to linger. It doesn't continue to make it worse. And ultimately, we've all been there, where we pushed and pushed and pushed, and we didn't listen to our body. We didn't listen to our mental health. We didn't listen to the glaring, obvious red flags. And then our body maybe gave out and we get sick, or we burn out, or we get an injury. That is not the vibe anymore. We get to use all retrogrades to our advantage to continuously win along our journey. Okay. So let me know how that resonates for all of you. If any of you have any fun Mars Neptune stories from last week that you wish to share, please let me know. And as a reminder, for the 1 question service for the Venus retrograde offering, and for all other one-on-one readings, you can find the links for those in the description of this video. And I'll have the full moon workshop up this week. My intention is either by the end of day, Monday or Tuesday, it'll be available so that it's ready for everyone across all time zones on Wednesday. So I'm wishing you all a fabulous week ahead, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.